Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is Dr. Salim Rahman, and it's our second lecture in the series of 3 lectures on project management. The topic of today's lecture is time and cost management. In today's lecture, we will continue with the examples of critical path method. You may recall during our first lecture, we tackled 2 practice problems, and employing the arrow diagramming method, we constructed their networks. We also computed the earliest and the latest start and finish times of all the activities, and we then computed the total, free and independent floats. So today we will start with the same 2 examples, and we will try to understand what the values of those floats mean. We will then learn the use of precedence diagramming method that will be followed by project schedule compression, and the 2 techniques that we will learn are fast tracking and project crashing. Then we will learn the resource leveling methods, and those methods include activity splitting, shifting or delayed start, and partial resource allocation or spreading the activities. So this was the network diagram for the practice problem number 1, and during our previous lecture we computed the earliest start, earliest finish, latest start, latest finish times of all the activities, and the earliest finish times and the latest finish times of all the nodes. We then computed the slacks for all the nodes, and we used that information to compute the total, free and independent floats of all the activities. Today, by putting all these activities of this network diagram on a timeline, we will learn what is meant by the total, free and independent floats. To begin with, we need to understand that the critical path comprises activities B, E and K because it is the sum of their durations that is the project completion time, which is 35 in this case. The activities on the critical path are shown in red color. The letters A, H, etc. these denote the activities, and the numbers in the brackets are the time duration each activity requires. It is easy to figure out that if the time from 0 till the completion of the project is 35 days, and the time this path for instance takes 29 days, so there is a flexibility of 6 days. In other words, the activities on this path can be delayed by 6 days. If we look at this path comprising activities A, H and I, the time this path takes is 26, and 35 minus 26 is 9. So the activities on this path can be delayed by 9 days without affecting the project completion time. Obviously, the activities on the critical path cannot be delayed, because if these get delayed, the overall project gets delayed. Now you see these numbers in the brackets. The first digit here indicates the total float, the second one the free float, and then independent float. And the total, free and independent floats of all the activities on the critical path are 0. If you look at this path CFK, the overall time here is 35 days, K takes 9 days, so we are left with 26 days. Out of 26 days, C and F, they consume 22 days. So there is a flexibility of 4 days, or the possibility of delay in any one of these activities of 4 days. This is why 4 appears here and here, because the total float for both these activities C and F is 4 days. When we look at the activity F, its free float is also 4 because this is the flexibility or the possible amount of delay that this activity can avail without affecting the succeeding or the following activity. And since the succeeding activity is already on the critical path with its floats as 0, this activity has a free float of 4. But if we allow activity C to utilize its float, then the independent float of activity F is 0. On the other hand, the activity C has a total float of 4, but if we want activity F to avail its float, then this activity C cannot be delayed, and so its free float is 0. And obviously, if its free float is 0, then its independent float will also be 0. Going backwards, this path had a flexibility of 6 days. So whether it is this activity A, D, G and J, these activities collectively have a total float of 6, the first digit in each case. Since this activity does not have any successor, its free float is 6. But if we allow any one of these activities which precede activity J to avail delay, then this activity cannot be delayed, and so its independent float is 0. When you come to activities G or D or A, since they have an activity that succeeds those, and if that particular activity, succeeding activity, is allowed to utilize its float, then the free float of activity G or D or A would be 0, and obviously if the free float is 0, the independent float will also be 0. When we look at this path AHI, the time taken by activities on this path is 26. So there is the possibility of delay of 9 units of time, 9 days, and so that becomes the total float for each one of these activities. And like we learned for the previous cases of activity C, F or D, G, J, the activity I does not have any successor, so it has a free float of 9. But if we allow activity H to utilize or avail delay, then this activity I cannot be delayed, so its independent float is 0. Since activity H has a successor and that has a float of 9, that means activity H cannot have any free float, and if it cannot have any free float, it cannot have any independent float. This is the network diagram of the second problem, practice problem number 2, that we discussed during our previous lecture. And once again, we already have all the earliest start, earliest finish, latest start, latest finish times of the activities, and the earliest and latest finish times of all the events. And we also have the slacks of each node. Using this information, we can find the total, free and independent float, and let us now put those floats on various paths that this project can have. We'll observe that there are 4 paths. So the critical path is A, C, F, H, I, J, K, but there are other paths which include A, B, E, I, J, K, A, D, F, H, I, J, K, and A, D, G, K. Out of these 4 paths, the first path, which is A, C, F, H, I, J, K, is shown in red because it is the critical path, and obviously the floats of the activities on this path will be 0. Let us consider this path or segment of this path. The total time on the critical path for activities C, F and H is 33 days. In the same time, activities B and E have to be performed, and the total time B and D take is 26. So 33 minus 26 is 7, and so 7 comes as the total float of activities B and E, and then E has a free float of 7 because while it has succeeding activities I, J, K, those are on critical path and their floats are 0. So these cannot be delayed, and if these cannot be delayed, activity E cannot affect their delay. So it has a free float of 7. However, it has independent float of 0 because the total float of 7 can be availed by B, and if B avails that delay, then the amount of possible delay for activity E becomes 0. B has a free float of 0 because if it has to allow E to avail float or delay, then it cannot have any free float, and it cannot have any independent float because its free float is. Now path F, H, I, J, sum of these durations is 29, and in this time frame in which F, H, I and J are performed, activity G also has to be performed in the same time, but it would take only 8 days. So out of 29, it requires only 8 days, and so its total float is 21. Since its successor K is on critical path, its free float is 21, and its independent float is 0 because if we want the preceding activity D to avail delay, then this activity cannot be delayed. Now activity D starts from this point. That means it can be started along with C because B, C and D, all three could be started once A was completed. So the time from here to here is 44 days. Out of 44 days, this portion of the path DG takes 13 days. So if we subtract 13 from 44, we get 31. So total float available to D is 31. But out of this 31, G can possibly avail 21 days of delay. So subtracting this 21 from 31, D has a free float of 10. And since the activity that is predecessor of D, basically it is activity A, since it is on the critical path, it does not require any delay. So the independent float of activity D is also 10. Let us now learn the second method, which is the precedence diagramming method for network analysis. In this method, the activities, unlike the previous case where we would use arrows, here the activities are represented by rectangles or boxes, and different people use different formats, but this is the format that I like. You write the earliest start in this corner, activity name, title or its code. If the name is lengthy, you can write its code, duration in days or weeks or months, and the resources that are used are required by this activity. And mostly we write the human resources and how much percentage of their time is required. And filling method is very easy. You pick up the earliest start time, add the duration, write the earliest finish time. And here you have latest start and latest finish. So once you know the latest finish time, you subtract duration and you get the latest start. So overall this block or this rectangle has information about the activity identity, its duration, the resources it requires, the earliest start time, earliest finish time, latest start time and the latest finish time. The method works in a manner that I will explain on this small problem, and let's call this practice problem number 3, PP3. We have 6 activities. Activities A, B and C, they do not have any predecessor, so they start from node number 1. A is followed by E, B is followed by F and C is followed by D. You see this relationship becomes opposite in here. D has a predecessor as C. E has a predecessor A, and here we say A is followed by E. F has two predecessors B and D, and notice here for B you have successor F as F, and for D you have successor as F. So this is basically duplication, but later on it becomes useful. And many a times both are given to you in problems. But even if one is given, it is sufficient. The duration of these activities A to F are 6 days, 12 days, 7, 3, 10 and 7 days. Let me reproduce this on another slide and use this information to draw a network using precedence diagramming method, find the critical path and compute the earliest start, earliest finish, latest start, latest finish and the floats. Since activities A, B and C, they do not have any predecessor, so we write these first. Activity E follows activity A. Activity D follows activity C. Activity F follows activity B and activity. Now we start filling the earliest start time of A, the earliest start time of B and earliest start time of C. These are the activities that can be started simultaneously at time 0. And if we start at time 0, the activity A would finish at time 6. So this is the earliest finish time. And notice these arrows now represent events. The rectangles are activities, the arrows are events. So this number would be written on top of the or near the head, representing that this event is completed at time 6. Now that becomes the earliest start time of activity E. Likewise, starting from 0, taking 12 days for completion, activity B gets completed at 12, and this 12 number here comes that it can be used as the earliest start time of F, but since there is another arrow, we cannot write it here for now. For activity C, the earliest finish time is 7. 7 comes here on the head of the arrow. Now 6 plus 10 is 16. This becomes the earliest finish time of activity E. Since nothing follows, that means this would go up till end. Whatever time is the time of completion of the project, that may be more compared to this. So this 7, which was on the head here of the event, it comes here as the earliest start time of D. Add 3 to 8, you get 10 here, you also write 10 here. Now this is like forward pass, so we pick up the larger of the two, maximum out of 12 and 10. The maximum out of 12 and 10 is 12. So this activity F starts at time 12, takes 7 days and gets completed on 19th day or after 19 days. Since this completes on after 19 days, this activity finishes at time 16. That means this is the critical path. This is why it is shown in a slightly different color, the baby pink color. Now we put this is the completion time, so we put this earliest finish time as the latest finish time, equate these, and then we do the backward pass. 19 minus 7 is 12 here. This 12 appears here as well as here. Also 19 appears here because this activity could be delayed up till the end. So 19 becomes the latest finish time of activity E also. Then 19 minus 10, the latest it can start is time 9. This time 9 comes here. This 9 is written as the latest finish time of activity A. Subtract 6 from it, you get the latest start time of activity A. Then this 12 is written here, you subtract these 3, you get 9 here, you also write 9 here. 9 becomes the latest finish time of activity C. Subtract 7 from it, you get 2. Here you write 12, 12 minus 12 is 0. Now it is obvious that this path, activity B followed by F, is the critical path. This is why I am showing it in slightly different color. And notice the starting time of this activity can be delayed, the starting time of this activity can be delayed. So these have some floats. These two activities B and F have their total float, free float and independent floats as 0. Let us fill this table. Up to here we have the information that was provided to us in the question or example. We write the earliest starting times of activities A, B and C because they do not have any predecessors, so this is where the project starts. 0 for A plus its duration, you get earliest finish time as 6. 0 plus 12 is 12. 0 plus 7 is 7. Now activity D starts after activity C is completed. C completes at 7. So it starts, activity D starts at 7, add 3 to it, you get 10. Then activity E follows A. A finished at 6. So 6 comes as the starting time of E. Add 10 to it, you get 16. Activity F follows two activities, B and D. B finishes at 12 and D finishes at 10, and we have to pick the larger one, maximum one out of 10 and 12, that is 12 plus 7, you get 19. That means this project can be completed in 19 days. So the forward pass is complete. Now in order to make the backward pass, we see that activities E and F, they go up till end because they do not have any successor. So for both these we will write the maximum time, which is 19, as the latest finish time here and also here. So activity E and F, since they do not have any successors, it is similar to this case where in the start we had no predecessor, so we wrote 0 for all of them. Likewise, E and F do not have any successor, anything that follows them, so both will have the same, the maximum time, which is equal to, like, E of that node is equal to L of that node. Now having known these latest finish times, subtract the durations, you get 12 as the latest start time of F and 9 as the latest start time of E. Now coming to D, D is followed by F, so the latest start time of F should become the latest finish time of D. This 12 comes here, subtract 3, you get 9. C is followed by D. D latest start was 9, so this 9 becomes the latest finish of C. Subtract 7 from it, we get 2. B has a successor which is F, and since B has a successor which is F, had its latest start time as 12, so that 12 comes here. Subtract 12 from it, which is duration, you get 0. A has its successor as E. E had the latest start time of 9. This 9 would come here, subtract 6 from it, you get 3. So now we have found the earliest start time, earliest finish time, latest start time and latest finish time of all the activities in the network. Total float, as we said earlier, it's very easy to find. It is the latest start time, this column, minus earliest start time, which is this column. So the first one for A would be 3 minus 0, then 0 minus 0, 2 minus 0, 9 minus 7, 9 minus 6 and 12 minus 12. So these are the total floats of all the activities. For wherever you have 0, you can simply write 0, and then you find the free floats by taking the difference of the total float and the head event slack. So 3 minus the head event slack of the end of the activity A, you get 0. This is definitely 0. You get 0 here, 0, 0 and 0. And since all the free floats are 0, that means the independent floats will automatically be 0. We don't have to calculate. Otherwise, independent float would have been the free float minus the tail event slack. I hope this explains how do we use the precedence diagramming method. Let us now come to another topic, which is the project schedule compression. Schedule compression refers to techniques used to shorten the duration of a project without changing the scope of the project. You don't want to affect the scope, you don't want to compromise on quality, on performance. Then you play with time and cost. So if you want to squeeze the time, reduce the time, it would result in increasing the cost. The techniques that we use for this are fast tracking and project crashing. What is fast tracking? Fast tracking is a technique in which activities that would have been performed sequentially one after the other using the original schedule are performed in parallel. In other words, fast tracking a project means the activities are worked on simultaneously instead of waiting for one activity to be completed before starting next. But when you do this, it can lead to increasing cost. But the objective is to reduce time. Project crashing is another technique. Crashing is the technique in which the resources are added to the project in a manner to reduce the duration with the least additional cost. So cost and schedule trade-offs are analyzed to determine how to obtain the greatest amount of compression for the least incremental cost. The fast tracking method can be employed, but if there is a precedence that one activity cannot be started unless another predecessor has been completed, it may not be feasible. But project crashing can be used if you know that certain activity can be performed in different times, but each time has its own cost. And this will become obvious when we do a numerical example. How do we compute these costs? Suppose we are given the cost per day for each activity of practice problem 3. So we'll apply this method on the practice problem 3. The project duration has already been found using CPM, and that project duration was 19 days, and we want to reduce this from 19 days to as low as possible. The project cost can be computed using sum of the product of the number of days with the cost per unit, because if you are given cost per day, you have to multiply it with the number of days that the activity would take to find the total cost of that particular activity, and then you sum up all such products to get the cost of the whole project. Let's have a look at the network diagram again. We want to reduce the duration from 19 days, and we will do it in steps. In steps, because if we want to reduce this time, either the activity F should be done in 6 days instead of 7 days, or activity B should be performed or completed in 11 days instead of 12 days. Now only one of these has to be used, because these activities already, for example, this path takes 16 days, this path takes 7 plus 3, 10 plus 7, 17 days. So it is this path which is critical because it is taking 19 days. So if you reduce the time here to 6 days or here to 11 days, the overall project completion time will become 18. It would not affect these. Now the question is, which activity should we pick? Should we reduce the time of B or should we reduce the time of F? In order to answer this question, we need to look at the information provided to us. To begin with, these are the costs per day of all these activities. For 6 days, the cost per day is 300. For 12 days, the cost per day is 100 per day. So overall cost for activity A is 300 into 6, 1800. For B, it is 100 into 12, 1200, and so on. You multiply these two columns and you get 22,700, whether it is rupees or dollars, and you know that the project duration was 19 days and you end up spending 22.7 thousand, or in order to avoid zeros here, I have divided the number here and written into thousand, so you get 22.7k. So 19 days and the associated cost is 22,700. This is the additional information that we would need. These were the numbers that we used in the previous slide. Notice 300, 100, 600, 1500. These are the numbers shown in this violet color: 300, 100, 600, 1500, 400 and 1000. This table gives us information that if activity A is done at a normal rate or pace, it will take 6 days, and per day our expense on human resource will be 300. So multiply these two, you get 1800. But if you want to do the same activity A in 5 days, then per day cost would be 500. So notice this product is 1800, this product will be 2500, likewise this product will be 3600. So you can compress time, but it would increase the cost. And the minimum time for activity A is 4 days, the maximum can be 6. For activity B, it can be done in as low as 8 days or at the most 12 days. C, 7, 6 and 5, 3 possibilities. D doesn't have any possibility. It can only be done in 3 days. No matter how much expense you want to make, you cannot reduce it. And we are not saying how much you can extend, because you can always delay it. Instead of 3 days, you can do it in 30 days or 300 days. But we are trying to compress time, reduce the time. And the time of this activity D cannot be reduced. E can be done in 10 days or 9 days or 8 days, and F can be performed in 7, 6 or 5 days. But the associated cost would increase. Now the question is, can this project duration be reduced from 19 days? And if so, what would be the effect on project cost? How much would the project cost increase? Now we have different options. We would like to go for the activity which would end up in the least incremental cost, the smallest possible increase for 1 day reduction in the project completion time. So here I have written in this table the total cost. That means we have already now multiplied the number of days with the per day cost. So 6 into 300 was 1800, 5 into 500 is 2500, and 900 into 4 was 3600. Notice that if A is performed in 6 days, it costs you 1800, and if it is performed in 5 days, it costs you 2500. So difference of these two, 2500 minus 1800 is 700. This is the incremental cost. That means if you reduce the duration of activity A from 6 days to 5 days, it would cost you 700 units of the currency, whether it is dollars or rupees. And if you further want to squeeze it from 5 days to 4 days, then you will have to pay, or it will cost you 1100 units of money. Likewise, activity B, the starting cost is 1200, but if you try to reduce it by 1 day and bring it to 11 days, then the cost becomes 1540, and the increment or increase in cost is 340. Likewise, just notice now incremental costs are increasing, 340, 1460. Even though this is also for reducing the time by 1 day, this is also reducing the time by 1 day, but gradually the expenses increase. D cannot be touched. Likewise, E and F. So having these figures in mind, when we go to the network diagram and we said that we have a choice, either go for B or go for F. So which one would suit us? Reducing the duration of F from 7 to 6 or reducing the effort of B from 12 to 11? Let's go back and see. F reduction costs you 3800, B reduction costs you 340. So here 3800 this figure, and the next one would be this 340. So we choose this and we proceed further. We recompute. This time we are putting new time 11 days, the new associated cost 1540, and we have reduced the time to 18 days, and the cost goes up to 23.04 or $23,040. A slight increase. Can we do it further? We now have the project. This time has been reduced to 11 from 12, and so the project completion time is 18 days. Notice these numbers have also changed. This was earlier 3, this was 2. This has come down to 2, this has come down to 1. That means there is still some float available. And so these two paths or subpaths are not on critical path. This is still the critical path, the only critical path. Once again, we have a choice between this activity F and this activity B. If we try to reduce the duration of activity F, it would cost you 3800. This is something we computed earlier also. This one would now change. Taking it from 11 to 10 days would cost you 1460. But still this 1460 is much better than 3800. So we would like to target this activity again and reduce its time from 11 to 10 days. Having done that, if you come to 10 days, the associated cost now is 300. So overall activity cost is 3000. The time reduces to 17 days and the cost of the project goes up to 24,500. What next? After this becomes 10 days, now this 10 plus 7 is 17, this 7 plus 3 plus 7 again 17. That means now we have two critical paths. Now things become slightly tricky. These two activities are still not on the critical path. If we want to reduce the time further, either we have to reduce this time of F from 7 to 6 days, and that would cost us 3800, or we have to target this, but in addition to this we have to target one of these. Now this cannot be touched, so our choice now is either this or this plus this. If you don't touch this activity, then in order to reduce time, because both are on critical paths, or there are two critical paths, so we have to reduce this activity duration by 9, from 10 to 9 by 1 day, and also C from 7 to 6 days. Only then it will become 9 plus 7 16 and 6 plus 3 9 plus 7 16. If you reduce only this one, then the project time would still remain 17. So in order to make it 16, you either simply touch this, focus this, or this activity and this activity. So this is this or this and this. If you try to reduce the duration from 10 to 9 days, the associated cost is 1500. And if you try to reduce this duration of C from 7 to 6 days, the associated cost is 1200. Now we need to add this 1200 to this 1500, that becomes 2700. So either we reduce these two times, but they collectively would cost us 2700, or we can target this activity F and it would cost us 3800. So it is still better to target these two activities rather than this one activity, because the associated cost is still less. So we target B and C, reduce their times, put up new costs per day, find the new total cost, and the overall project duration now is 16 days and the project cost is 27,200. What next? After we have done this, notice that our project duration is now 16 days. All the activities are now on critical path. Now, in order to reduce the project completion time, we either target this and this, or this and this, or we have to target this and this instead of this. The choices were out of these two, because one of them has to have its time reduced so that its time goes to 15 from 16. So either this should go to 5 or this should go to 9 days, and this can be reduced by an expense of 700 and reduction of this would cost 1400. So this becomes our choice on this critical path. Coming to the lower part, either this or these two together. Now together these cost 3500 plus 2100. 3500 plus 2100 or 5600. Now this 5600 for these two is more than this one, which is 3800. So now our choice would be pick this and pick this. So the cost would increase by 700 because of this, 3800 because of this, and we would end up reducing the time of A and the time of F. A goes to 5 days, F goes to 6 days. You put up new costs per day, find the overall cost of the activities and of the project. So the project completion time is now 15 days and the associated cost is 31,700. Can we reduce it any further? So now we have 15 days, which we computed last time. Here 15 days, and notice again all the activities are on critical path and we have the same choices. Reduce this to 4 days, reduce this to 5 days costing you 9,200, reduce this to 9 days costing 1,400. Now out of these two we have to pick one. This one costs 1,400, this one costs 1,100. So this should be our obvious choice. Now coming to this, you either have this or you have to select out of these two. This one would cost 3,500 and this one would cost 2,100. So put together activity B and C would cost us 3,500 plus 2,100, which is 5,600, but the sum of these two will be less than this, so it is still better to reduce time of these two activities rather than targeting this one alone. And of course this will reduce the time duration of these two critical paths, and activity A has to be targeted because of lesser incremental cost. So what happens is that we have to select A, we have to select B, and we have to select C. So all these A, B and C, their durations should be reduced 4 days, 8 days and 5 days, and the increase in cost would be 1,100 plus 3,500 plus 2,100. So notice here we have reduced the time durations of A, B and C. These are the new costs. So overall project duration now comes down to 14 days and the cost goes up to 38,400. So this is our new or the latest or the revised network diagram, wherein the project completion time is 14 days. All the activities are definitely on the critical path. Can we improve any further? Of course, we could reduce the time of this from 6 to 5 days, costing us 9,200. This one could be reduced from 10 to 9 days. It would cost us 1,400. And so we select this and we select this. Obviously, if you have selected this, then you don't have to go for this, and I think we cannot reduce it any further. So we have to select this, and the time duration would become 13 days. So we have selected E, brought its time to 9 days, F from 6 to 5 days. These are the new associated costs. The overall project cost now becomes 49,000, but the time goes down to 13. Remember, we started from 19 days, but the cost was something like 22,000. So from 19 comes down to 13 days, but the cost almost doubles. We again have the same problem. Can we reduce it any further? Can we compress the time? This activity it can have its time reduced to 8 days, and that would cost us 3400. But on this path or on this path, no activity can be squeezed any further. So while we can do this, it would not affect the overall time duration. And let's analyze now what we have achieved. For 19 days the cost was 22,700. We gradually increased the cost and brought down the time to 13 days, and the associated cost is now 49,000. It is shown here graphically. Notice that the incremental costs are represented here by the slope of this curve. So for every reduction the slope is increasing. Now somebody would say, why do we do this? If we had to come from 19 days to 13 days, we could follow any path. The answer is yes, we could follow any path and we could have gone like this and would have reached the same point. So why didn't we do this? Why did we want to go for minimum incremental cost, and we wanted to choose that activity which would end up increasing the cost by minimum possible amount? Reason being, after calculating these, you go back to your finances, your superiors, and you say that we can perform this in 19 days with this cost, and we can squeeze it to 13 days, but the cost would be this. And at this time they would tell you what their budget is. They may say that we have something like $35,000. We cannot pay more than that. So knowing this, you can straight away say that let's go for reduction up to 15 days, because that would cost us something here, and the associated cost will be less than 35 that you have. Had you done in the opposite direction, that means probably you would have gone for much higher cost with much lesser reduction. Your reduction would have been much lesser. So the advantage of doing this in least incremental way is that wherever you draw a line and you say that we have this much money, let's spend that much, then you will end up reducing your time to the maximum extent possible. Let us go to another topic, which is resource leveling. This is something like opposite of project schedule crashing. When your resources are overburdened, like somebody working overtime, somebody working day and night, or some machine being used for which you have to pay additional cost, and you want to use it at a certain level. And usually for human beings there are 40 hours per week or 8 working hours per day, and there are usually 5 days a week, Saturday and Sunday being off. If you want to make a person work for more than 40 hours, you have to pay them extra, and we call it overtime. But the rates of overtime are much higher compared to the normal rates. So if people are made to work beyond 40 hours per week, your cost would definitely increase. So suppose you have some resources that are scheduled in that manner and you want to reduce your cost, you try to figure out how you can do that, and one method for that is resource leveling. Resource leveling is a technique in which start and finish dates are adjusted based on resource constraints with the goal of balancing demand for resources with the available supply. And this sometimes results in delaying project completion, but it helps in reducing costs. Remember, in the previous case, our objective was to reduce time. We didn't care about cost, but we wanted to have the least incremental cost. Now we are doing the opposite. We want to reduce cost even if it is at the expense of increasing the project completion time. There are 3 methods to do that. One is splitting an activity or task. The second is shifting or delaying start of an activity. And third one is spreading an activity over time or partial resource allocation. Let's look at these one by one. And for that I pick another problem. Let me call this practice problem number 4. We have 5 activities and there are resource people who work on these activities. For instance, Ahmed has to work on activity A. He is also required to work on activity D. Bakir works on activity B as well as on activity C, and activity C also requires the services of Jamil. Finally, Dark works alone on activity E, and right in the beginning we assume that each one of these is required for 100% of his time. That means 40 hours per week. But when Ahmed has to work, if A and D are or can be worked in parallel, that means Ahmed will have to devote 200% time. So instead of 40 hours, he will work for 80 hours a week. As regards Bakir, if he is required to work on activities B and C on the same days, he will have to work 16 hours a day. That would lead to higher accrual of expenses. The arrow diagram or network diagram of this small problem can be drawn like this. We are now conversant with the method that we find the completion time. So I will not repeat the whole process of writing EI and LJs, etc. So simply we would say that adding up these times, because of these precedences, C follows A, C follows A, D follows B, and E follows D here. It's a very simple diagram. You simply add up the times. 4 plus 2 plus 14 is 20 and 6 plus 10 is 16. So this path AC or 1 2 5, it is not a critical path, whereas 1 3 4 5 or activity B followed by D followed by E are uncritical paths. The same thing can be seen using precedence diagram method, where you use rectangles, and just like the previous case, the activities B, D and E are on critical path. If you look at the Gantt chart, activity A can be done in 6 days. Notice here, activity B can be done in 4 days, 6, 4, 10, 2 and 14. So 6 days, 4 days, 10, 2 and 14. Now the problem that we face is that Ahmed has to work 100% of his time, that is 40 hours per week or 8 hours per day for 6 days on activity A, but he also has to work on activity D for 2 days, and these 2 days happen to be coinciding with some part of A. So for first 4 days there is no problem. Ahmed spends all his time on activity A, but for the remaining 2 days he has to spend 8 hours per day here and 8 hours per day here. So we will have to pay Ahmed double or slightly more amount because of this overtime. There is no other problem. This is why you see this in black color and this in red color. Like for instance, Bakir had to work here for 4 days, but then Bakir and Jamil, when they work on activity C, by that time D is already completed. So Bakir doesn't get any overtime. He is not overworked. Dar is not overworked. Jamil is not overworked. Only Ahmed is overworked for these 2 days. Now, one method can be, if we can shift this and start D at this time, but if you shift this, remember this is the critical path. If you shift this here, this activity would also get shifted by 2 days. The project would get completed in 22 days. So you would bring down the cost, but you will end up increasing the project duration. If you shift this A, you will have to shift it here. So then 6 plus then 16 days shifted after 6. So you start from here, 6 days plus 6 of A plus 10 of this, again you go for 22 days. What if we split this? We stop work on A at this time, because these 2 activities are not on the critical path. You split this or cut this or stop work on A after 4 days. Send Ahmed to work on this. Once he completes this, bring him back to do the remaining 2 days work. So because of this requirement of Ahmed on A and D, if we can split A here and shift the remaining part by 2 days. Remember, for 2 days there is no work on activity A. Ahmed goes and works on activity D. After that he comes back. Now this portion is shifted by 2 days, but it is still inside the project completion time of 20. So the project completion time does not get affected, but we achieve the objective of reducing our cost because now Ahmed is not overworked and we don't have to pay him extra. So sometimes you split the activities. This is one reason or one purpose of splitting. Sometimes you have to stop the work because some machinery or some required resource is not available. Some raw material is not available. In that case also you split and shift it and also see whether it affects the project completion or not. The other two methods of resource leveling are through shifting or through partial allocation of resources. Let's look at the shifting now. Just to remind you that there were 4 activities and these were the honorariums that people were supposed to be paid. This is the network diagram. This time we have a slightly different diagram. Notice the problem now is different. This is not practice problem 4 but is 5, and there is a dummy activity here. So the critical path here is BD, or node referring to nodes 1, 3, 4 is the critical path, and the earliest completion time of the project is 18 days. By the way, there are 3 paths. One is critical path, which is 1, 3, 4. The other paths are 1, 2, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to look at all possible combinations. So there are 3 different paths. One path is critical. If you use the precedence diagram in technique, you will have the network drawn like this. So Ahmed and Bakir both work 100% of their time, that means 40 hours a week or 8 hours per day for 4 days on activity A, but Ahmed has to work on activity B also, and that is for 12 days. So for 4 days he is being overworked. There is no other problem. Dart doesn't have any problem, Bakir doesn't have any problem, Jamil doesn't have any problem. But the problem is because of overburdening of Ahmed that results in extra charges or increased cost. And we would like to reduce this cost in such a manner that Ahmed does not get overburdened. In order to do that, we can either shift this activity or we shift this activity. If we shift activity A and start it after B is completed, it will be a disaster because the project duration, which is currently 18 days, would become this 12 plus 4, because this A would come here, 12 plus 4 plus 10, then that will be 26 days. So that would be a disaster. But the better thing is, since this is 4 days and this is 12 days, why not shift this by 4 days? If you do that, start B here, this critical path would get shifted by 4 units. So from 18 it would go to 22. So if we shifted this one, the project completion time would become 26. If we shift this by 4 days, the project completion would go to 22 days. So in the current instance where there is no shifting involved, the costs are like this. Ahmed works for 32 hours and he is paid at a higher rate, $100 per hour for A. 4 days, so 32 hours multiplied with 100, so $3,200 for activity A, $4,800 for activity B. B was actually 12 days, 12 multiplied with 8 is 96, and 96 multiplied with $50. That is at a lower rate. So the overall cost of the project becomes $21,440. We want to reduce this cost even if it results in increasing the project completion time. So notice, if we shift B after A coming here. Now Ahmed is not overburdened because Ahmed and Bakir would work on A. Once this activity A gets completed, Bakir and Jamil they work on C, Ahmed works on B, but the project duration, since this activity B has been shifted, not because A is a prerequisite, but because we don't want Ahmed to work simultaneously on two activities, the project completion time increases from 18 to 22 because the activities on the critical path has been shifted by 4 days. The other method is the partial allocation. In here, instead of allocating 100% time, Ahmed has 8 hours, Bakir has 8 hours. Why not ask them to spend 4 hours per day, and Ahmed would spend 4 hours per day here. So 50 plus 50, 100%, so he doesn't get paid any extra amount. But since Ahmed, who was supposed to work for 100% times for 4 days, when he works half the time, the activity can be expected to take double the time. So these 4 days now become 8 days. Here those 4 days become 8 days plus the remaining 8 days, because initially it was 12 days. 4 become 8 and 8 plus 8. So the overall activity duration increases from 12 days to 16 days. Notice that Bakir works for 4 hours per day just like Ahmed, but then he works for 8 days now. So 4 into 8 is 32. In the previous case also they were working 100% time, so 8 multiplied with 4, and this time 4 multiplied with 8. So overall again it is 32 hours. The only difference would be made for Ahmed because Ahmed spends 50% time here, 50% time here. So overall, while he is working simultaneously on two different activities, he doesn't do any overtime. So the cost does not increase, and project duration again goes to, because of this expansion or partial allocation or spreading of the activity over slightly longer time duration, the project completion time, it increases from 80 to 20. This is the new table showing us the project cost, and this time with reduced rate of payment for 32 hour at a rate of 50 per hour. This goes down to 1600. Previously it was double, it was 3200. So this 8000 previously here comes down to 6400, and overall project cost comes down to 19,840. Okay, that was it, where we would relate cost and time. We have covered critical path method, and in this we use time estimates that are believed to be constant. But in practice, in real life, time estimates are random, and those follow some probability distribution. In order to tackle such projects where the project activity times are random, we use program evaluation and review technique, usually known as PERT. The time estimates of different activities can follow different probability distributions. Different distributions mean you can have normal distribution for one activity, you can have exponential distribution, you can have gamma distribution or log normal distribution for different activities. One distribution that people mostly use is beta distribution. It is preferred because it takes different shapes. Its shape become almost normal distribution for some values of the parameter. It can become like exponential or Poisson distribution, or log normal distribution. Any distribution can be closely approximated by beta distribution. But dealing with such distributions is very tricky. It becomes very difficult when you have complex networks. Notice that we were looking at very simplified networks of 2 or 3 activities, 2 in series, 2 in parallel, and there too we had to do a lot of computations. So in practice, people don't actually use distributions. They use some alternative methods, and the most commonly used method is that instead of using one estimate of time, we use three different times. One is the minimum time required to complete an activity. We call it minimum or optimistic. We use the maximum time. The maximum is also known as pessimistic. And we use the most likely or mode. Using these three, we find a new estimate, and we also find the variance or standard deviation of the time of each activity. And after that, the usual method, that means either the arrow diagram or the precedence diagram. But then analyzing that is a little more tricky, and that is something that we will cover in our next lecture. So in our next lecture, we will draw network diagrams for project activities that have random time durations. We'll also learn how we compute the probability of completion of a project in a given time, or how to determine the completion time for a specific probability of completion of the project.